October 19, 1972, a small island in the Philippines. A 52-year-old man crouches in the jungle, completely still. He has been in this jungle for 28 years. He hasn't slept in a bed since 1944. He has never seen a television. He does not know Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. He does not know the Korean War happened, or Vietnam, or that John F. Kennedy was assassinated. He does not know that the country he is fighting for has been rebuilt from rubble into one of the world's richest economies. He knows one thing: the war is not over. It cannot be over. His commanding officer told him to hold this island until Japan returned for him. And Japan has not returned. His name is Hiroo Onoda. And on this morning in October 1972, he watches from the trees as Filipino police officers approach the riverbank where his last remaining comrade is washing rice. There is a brief exchange of gunfire. His comrade, Private Kinshichi Kazuka, is killed. Onoda slips silently back into the jungle. Alone now. The last soldier of a war that ended 27 years ago. He will not surrender. He will not stop. He cannot even consider it. The question that has haunted historians and psychologists for 50 years is not how he survived. It is why, when the evidence was overwhelming and undeniable, he simply could not stop fighting. The answer reveals something deeply unsettling about how the human mind works, and it applies to every one of us. To understand Hiroo Onoda, you need to understand what kind of soldier he was, because he was not the kind Japan sent to charge into machine gun fire and die for the emperor. He was something far more dangerous. Onoda was born in 1922 in Kainan, a small town in western Japan. As a young man, he was disciplined, methodical, and unusually calm under pressure. Qualities that got him noticed by military recruiters in 1942. He was selected to attend the Nakano School, Japan's elite intelligence and guerrilla warfare academy. It was the closest thing Japan had to a school for spies and special forces. At the Nakano School, the curriculum was not about dying gloriously in battle. It was about surviving, adapting, thinking. Students were taught to live off the land indefinitely, to blend into local populations, to gather intelligence, and above all, to never surrender. Surrender was not simply dishonorable. It was operationally unthinkable. A Nakano soldier captured would compromise the entire network. They were trained to believe that persistence itself was the mission. In December 1944, Lieutenant Hiroo Onoda was sent to Lubang Island in the Philippines. Japan was losing the war badly by then, and Lubang was a small but strategically positioned island northwest of the main Philippine archipelago. His orders were to conduct guerrilla operations, disrupt Allied supply lines, and hold the island. Before he departed for the jungle, his commanding officer, Major Yoshimi Taniguchi, gave him a set of orders that would shape the next 3 decades of his life. "You are absolutely forbidden to die by your own hand," Taniguchi told him. "It may take 3 years, it may take 5, but whatever happens will come back for you. You are to continue your mission until you receive word from us directly." 4 men went into that jungle with Onoda in late 1944. Private Yuichi Akatsu, Corporal Shoichi Shimada, Private Kinshichi Kazuka, and Onoda himself. 9 months later, on August 15, 1945, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's surrender over the radio. The war was over. The 4 men in the jungle of Lubang Island did not hear the broadcast. And even when they eventually heard it, they did not believe it. In late 1945, leaflets rained down from planes over Lubang Island. "The war has ended. You are ordered to surrender." Onoda picked one up. He read it carefully. Then he set it down and walked back into the jungle. It was a trick. It had to be. Allied psychological operations had been dropping fake leaflets for years. This was no different. Any soldier trained at the Nakano School would recognize the tactic immediately. The enemy wanted you to give up. They were trying to break your will. You held firm. In 1946, more leaflets fell. This time they included a copy of General Yamashita's surrender order, the official document signed by Japan's commanding general in the Philippines. Onoda examined it closely. It was a forgery. It had to be. The logic was airtight from inside the box. If the war had truly ended, why would Allied forces still be operating on this island? Why were there patrols? Why were there soldiers? Because of course, the patrols and soldiers Onoda kept seeing were Filipino police and army, but to him, they were the enemy, still in the field, still hunting him. Every piece of evidence that the war had ended became proof, in his mind, that it hadn't. In 1950, Private Akatsu slipped away in the night. He surrendered to Filipino authorities after 6 months alone. Onoda and the remaining 2 men assumed he had been captured. They moved deeper into the jungle. In 1952, family members of the holdouts recorded personal messages that were played through loudspeakers near the jungle. Onoda's brother stood at the jungle's edge and called out to him, his own voice, telling him to come home. The war was over. Their father was old. His family needed him. Onoda listened and concluded it was an enemy actor, someone who had studied recordings of his brother's voice, a sophisticated deception. He retreated further into the trees. The Filipino government was losing patience. What had begun as a curiosity, a stubborn Japanese holdout, had become a genuine security threat. By the early 1950s, Onoda and his men had killed approximately 30 Filipino civilians who they believed were enemy combatants or collaborators. They raided farms for food. They burned crops. They ambushed patrols. The Philippines launched military operations specifically to flush them out. Onoda interpreted each operation as confirmation that the war was still going. In 1954, Corporal Shimada was killed during a beach skirmish with a search party. Now there were 2. For the next 18 years, Onoda and Kazuka survived. They lived on bananas, coconuts, and whatever they could scavenge or hunt. They repaired their rifles with primitive tools, carefully hoarded their ammunition, and kept meticulous notes on enemy movements in a small journal. They never lit a fire that could be seen from above. They never slept in the same place 2 nights in a row. Onoda developed a philosophy that kept him going through each of those years. He told himself, a good soldier does not choose his mission. He completes it. The difficulty of the mission is irrelevant. The duration is irrelevant. He had been ordered to hold this island until Japan returned. Japan had not returned. Therefore, the mission was not complete. The logic was clean and simple, and it required no revision. Back in Japan, the country had transformed beyond recognition. The post-war economic miracle had made Japan one of the wealthiest nations on earth. The cities that had burned to rubble in 1945 were now gleaming with modern architecture. Japanese people owned televisions, cars, and washing machines. They vacationed in Hawaii. A new generation had grown up knowing nothing but peace. Hiroo Onoda knew nothing of any of this. In the late 1960s, Japanese officials made a final coordinated attempt to end the standoff. They dropped thousands of letters from Onoda's family members, photographs of his relatives, even a personal letter from his parents over the jungle. Onoda read all of it. He identified 2 possibilities. Either his family had been coerced into writing the letters, or the letters were forgeries. He chose a third option in his mind. Even if the letters were real, he reasoned, his family had simply been told the war was over. They didn't know the truth. He did. The island, the jungle, the mission, this was the truth. And then in October 1972, Private Kazuka was killed at the riverbank. For the first time in 28 years, Hiroo Onoda was alone. In 1974, a young Japanese adventurer named Norio Suzuki made a decision that seemed to most people absolutely insane. He told his friends he was going to find Hiroo Onoda, not because he thought the war was still going, but because he was curious about a man who believed it was. Suzuki traveled to Lubang Island armed with a tent, a camera, and what he described as a friendly manner. He found Onoda within 4 days. Whether by incredible luck or sheer boldness, he simply walked into the part of the jungle where the villagers refused to go and waited. Onoda appeared. Suzuki introduced himself and told Onoda calmly that the war had ended in 1945, that Japan was now a prosperous democracy, that Onoda was famous back home, admired even, that his family was alive and hoping to see him. Onoda listened to all of it, and then he said something that stopped Suzuki cold. "I understand what you're telling me, but I cannot surrender without orders from my commander." Suzuki flew back to Japan and tracked down Major Yoshimi Taniguchi. He was 63 years old now and ran a small bookshop outside Tokyo. He had not been in military uniform for nearly 30 years. On March 9, 1974, Taniguchi flew to Lubang Island. Onoda emerged from the jungle in his original military uniform, patched, faded, but intact. His rifle was in perfect working condition. He carried 500 rounds of ammunition and several hand grenades. He had maintained his equipment for 29 years. Taniguchi, standing before him in civilian clothes, read the formal order in a clear voice. All combat activity was to cease. Lieutenant Onoda's mission was officially terminated. Onoda stood at attention. Then, for the first time since 1944, he lowered his weapon. He was 52 years old. He had spent his entire adult life in the jungle. The years from age 22 to 52, the years a man builds a career, marries, has children, watches his parents age and die, finds his place in the world. Onoda had spent hiding in trees and fighting a war that had ended before most of the people watching this were born. The Philippines initially charged him with the murders of the civilians killed during his guerrilla campaign. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos personally issued a pardon, recognizing that Onoda had been acting under orders he believed were legitimate. He returned to Japan to a hero's welcome. Huge crowds at the airport, news cameras, a nation that didn't quite know how to feel, proud, sad, and vaguely ashamed all at once. Onoda stood in the airport and looked at the crowds. Japan felt foreign to him. The noise, the wealth, the ease of it. He did not recognize this country. "I have lost 30 years," he told reporters quietly, "but I do not regret what I did." Here is the part of this story most people miss. Hiroo Onoda was not delusional. He was not uneducated. He was not even by any clinical measure mentally ill. He was a man who had fused his identity so completely with his mission that stopping would have required him to become a different person. And that, not the war, not the jungle, not even the fear, is what kept him there for 29 years. Psychologists call this identity protective cognition. When a belief is deeply embedded in who we are, not just what we think, but who we are, we don't process contradicting evidence normally. We don't weigh it. We neutralize it. Every leaflet became a trick. Every broadcast became a deception. Every letter became a forgery. Not because he was irrational, but because the alternative, accepting the evidence, meant accepting that everything he had endured, everything he had done, had been for nothing. He could not afford to be wrong, so he could not allow himself to see. This is not unique to soldiers or wars. It is the mechanism behind every relationship that should have ended years ago. Every career that slowly became a prison, every ideology held long past the point where the evidence had turned. We do not fail to stop because we lack information. We fail to stop because we have become the thing we started. The question Hiroo Onoda forces us to ask is the one we are most afraid to answer. What are you still fighting for? That ended a long time ago.